Hello, middle school parents. I want to talk to you today about what we're doing here in the middle school to build a community of readers. Earlier in the spring, I read a quote that's actually displayed on our bulletin board out in the hallway that says that readers are made, they're not born. And I began to think about that, and it brought me to my thoughts of my own child and watching him as much as I knew about teaching literacy skills. It's really fascinating to watch your own child grow up and to go through those different phases of becoming a strong reader. And so I thought back to his fourth grade experience and how from the time that I knew that Sam was going to be born up until about third grade, Sam and I read together daily. And then when he gained those independent reading skills, or so I thought they were independent enough, I began to let go and I began to pull back. And then I also saw his passion for reading at the same time just absolutely drained, from a child that I had to pry a book out of his hands to all of a sudden not having a strong interest in anymore. And so as an educator, I began to think about that. And, it's always been my goal as with an English teacher's heart to see a student read even more than they did the previous year. But this summer, I read a book called The Book Whisperer by Donalyn Miller and challenged my language arts teachers, grades 5 through 8, to read the same book. And it was an absolute game changer for us. I also learned that my Sam was considered by Miller to be what is known as an underground reader. And you may have one of these too. In her words, she talked about the underground reader being a gifted reader, but one who viewed reading as only what the teacher was asking them to do in school. And they didn't see the connection between that and what they deem real reading when they choose to read on their own. In other words, they just wanted to read apart from the teacher and apart from the way that the teacher was leading them. And so Miller kind of wrote about some unconventional approaches that we have adapted and adopted in our classroom for this year. And one of the things she does is she talks about how we spend so much time teaching skill, that we don't give them the opportunity to practice those skills with independent reading and with some guided reading. And so, the tons of worksheets, the logs that I know teachers' intent, and they are valuable activities, but when we replace those with just an opportunity to read, and for teachers to encourage students to navigate a literary world of various genres, and then provide class time for them to read books that they self-select, that it can become infectious and it can become inspiring. And that's what I have started to see take place in middle school and in grades 5 through 5th grade as well this year. It is infectious and it is inspiring. And I see students who are getting wrapped up in a series and they can't wait for the next book to come out. I see students who are recommending books to one another. I see students with a list of books that they wish to read and they can't wait to read next. And I'm having conversations with them about that. And it just does my English teacher heart so great to see that. Every student is beginning to see that, what was presented as a 40-book challenge, or rather a 40-book invitation this year, is not just a distant goal anymore, that students are actually chipping away. And here's the thing. What if a student only gets to 22 books this year? That is probably 20 more books than they would have read without the invitation that we provide to them each day in their English language arts classes. And so, here's the thing. Most importantly, over the 40-book invitation or 40-book challenge, we want to see all of our middle school students develop an appreciation and a sense of story, a love of story. And, I know from numerous years, 31 years actually, of teaching students to write, that in order to be a strong writer, our students have to be filled with language. And that only comes from spending time in a variety of different texts. So, what I'm asking you to do is to learn to embrace reading in your home a little more. It's something that my husband's recently, a year ago, started the Colson Fellow series here and has really developed an appreciation of reading. And of course, as I transitioned out of the classroom and into the leadership role here, the first thing I did was purchase about 40 books of everything I wanted to know yesterday. And so I'm checking those off too. So we're celebrating reading more in our home. And I challenge you to do that because, with spending so much time in the virtual world right now, it's just wonderful to sit and hold a book at times. So anyway, just keep encouraging your student to read and have conversations with them about what they're reading and what they plan to read next, and kind of change that conversation up. And hopefully we'll see great results in love of story, which is what I'm after. So thanks so much for meeting me in the middle each day. I pray for you daily, and I look forward to seeing you soon.